Welcome to another edition of 5 Questions here on The 5. It's 5 questions, again, with, guess who? Mike Lederer. He's back. How you doing, Mike?
I'm great, Nick. How you doing today?
Oh, it's warm. It's about a thunderstorm outside. That's exciting. That's why I'm not wearing any pants. And so I'm in a good mood. I've got no tie on. I went with a relatively casual dress shirt. I mean, you're always looking good. I'm kind of jealous, I'll be honest.
Well, you know, Nick, I really do appreciate you dressing up for the show today.
Yeah,
and hey,
I
warm weather outside. You know, the first thing I think of when it comes to warm weather is NHL playoff hockey.
What's the deal with that anyway? I always figure, why don't we play, hockey playoffs, move the season back a little bit and play, in Syracuse, for example, just, in Buffalo. In Buffalo, there was snow on the ground 2 weeks ago. They could have finished the playoffs 2 weeks ago. There still would have been snow. It still would have felt like hockey. Now it's 85 degrees outside, and it's hot.
Well, you know, Nick, I guess with the season being as long as it is, you're either going to have to start it when the weather's warm or end it when the weather's warm. So you're probably not going to be able to avoid warm weather altogether. But you know what? Let's get past that. There's much more important issues at hand and a great 2011 playoffs on tap.
It's true. 2011 playoffs start. Seedings, matchings, they're all set up. First one, we're going to start out in the West. Vancouver and Chicago. Sir, what do you think?
Well, you know, the Canucks finished the regular season with the most points in the entire NHL, but it's an interesting first-round matchup as they essentially face the team that's been their kryptonite over the past several seasons in the Chicago Blackhawks. However, I do think Vancouver will ultimately prevail this year. Chicago, not the same team that they were last season when they ultimately won the Stanley Cup Finals. A lot of turnover from that team. I think the Blackhawks will really miss the presence of Dustin Byfuglien in front of the net. Roberto Luongo will have a stronger series without Byfuglien in front of the net, and I think ultimately the depth and the talent in Vancouver just prevails over a Blackhawks team that really backed its way into the playoffs because the Minnesota Wild beat the Dallas Stars in the final game of the regular season. So ultimately, I don't think it's going to be a repeat for the Blackhawks.
You get the Battle of California, San Jose, Los Angeles. You've got the 2-7 matchup there. First off, does anyone care about this outside of California? Second off, who do you see coming out of it? What's the series going to look like?
Well, I still think people care about it. There's a tremendous amount of talent on both sides. And this storyline with the San Jose Sharks year in and year out that you have to watch for is in a great regular season team that ultimately comes up short in the postseason. I mean, Nick, the Sharks 5 straight years with over 100 points in the regular season. They have a total of 2 conference finals appearances, no appearances in the Stanley Cup Finals. Will that trend continue for a 6th consecutive season? Now, I ultimately think the Sharks will get out of the first round here with star forward Anze Kopitar out of the lineup for the Kings. And ultimately, goals scored is going to be a major difference in this one. In the regular season, San Jose finished 6th in the NHL in goals scored. Los Angeles 25th in the NHL. Big difference there. I just think the Sharks had way too much depth to lose in the first round.
Yeah, and our next matchup, of course, it's the cross-country rivals, Detroit and Phoenix.
Well, it's a rematch of the first round of the 2010 postseason when these teams matched up as 4 and 5 seeds, and that was a great first-round matchup. The Coyotes pushed the Red Wings to 7 games before Detroit prevailed with a 6-1 victory in Game 7. I think it's going to be another strong matchup this season as well, Nick. Now, Henrik Zetterberg is likely going to miss the entire series for the Red Wings due to a knee sprain, but Detroit still has a tremendous amount of depth. And while I would give Phoenix the edge in goaltending with Ilya Bryzgalov ahead of Detroit's Jimmy Howard, ultimately depth, coaching, and special teams goes to Detroit, and I think the Red Wings will move on to round 2.
So our last matchup, of course, is the 4-5. I mean, Anaheim, Nashville, 4-5s, they're always interesting series, right?
They absolutely are. And you know, Nick, I think right now Anaheim is the team that nobody in the Western Conference wants to play. They are coming into the postseason on a major hot streak, playing some great hockey, and I think they're going to prevail in this one. The only way Nashville has a chance is if they're able to shut down the scoring line of Corey Perry, Ryan Getzlaf, and Bobby Ryan. But that line has put up great numbers down the stretch here. And Nick, power play goals are going to be a big difference in this series. Special teams goals. Anaheim finishing 3rd in the NHL on the power play and scoring in 2011. Nashville 26th. And while Rick Nash and company have had regular season success, Nashville has yet to take that hump in winning a playoff series. I don't think it happens this season. I think Anaheim ultimately moves on to the second round.
Okay, so now that we've went through all of them, which one are you paying attention to?
Well, I'm going to be paying attention to all of them, but if I had to pick one of this series, I actually would go back to that 1-8 matchup between Vancouver and Chicago. These are two teams that have played each other several times in the past season, in the postseason over the past several years, and they play each other tough. I think it's going to be quality hockey, and though I see Vancouver prevailing, Chicago should push it to 6 or 7.
All right, sounds good. Those are your 5 questions with Mike Lederer here on the 5. Check back again. We've got 5 more. We're breaking down the East. Coming up.